Have you ever felt like you've achieved everything you wanted in life, but there's still something missing? Like you've worked so hard to get where you are, you made a lot of money, but you still don't feel truly fulfilled. It is like something is still missing, and you can't explain exactly what it is. Especially for those who have achieved a lot, it can be hard to find true happiness. And this is exactly the feeling explored in Aldous Huxley's book, Brave New World. That feeling of emptiness, even in the face of abundance. The work shows a dystopia where society has everything it wants, but still controlled by technology and pleasure. The government uses tactics of persuasion and conditioning to keep order in society, but at the cost of individuality and true human connection. It is a warning about the dangers of not knowing who you are and allowing desires and ideals of consumerism and pleasure to define your identity, and then suddenly discover your life is empty. Brave New World by Aldous Huxley. This is a must-read for those looking for valuable lessons on how to resist society's conditioning and find your true purpose. This book will challenge your beliefs and make you question what really matters in life. Today you will discover the negative effects of chasing after fun, admiration, status, and pleasure. You will also realize the importance of self-discovery, free will, and true human connection. In this episode of the Arata Academy Summary series, I'll give you a brief overview of the story, but please keep in mind that although this is a work of fiction, our summary series is not about literature, about reading for simple pleasure. But most of all, it is for personal growth. So let's give a general overview here of the plot, and then we'll jump to the valuable lessons on finding your identity, your true purpose, and having a rich and full life, avoiding the problems of consumerism and pleasure that are imposed by society. Attention, this is just a summary of the book. Please read the full disclaimer before proceeding. Beware of what you wish for, or better yet, be aware of what you wish for. Has this desire been implanted by someone else? Now, the story is set in a futuristic dystopian society where pleasure and conformity are the main priorities. The government controls all aspects of citizens' lives, including their genetics, social conditioning, and even people's thoughts. Human life is created and it is designed to fit into specific castes, some superior, some inferior ones, different groups of people, depending on the work, the activities they are supposed to be performing. The book explores the consequences of prioritizing technology and pleasure over individualism, free will, and real human connections. The government even uses sleep learning to condition citizens since childhood to adopt certain principles, such as consuming mass-produced goods, practicing promiscuity, and participating in all types of group activities. This leads to a society where the individuals are discouraged from thinking by themselves, and instead of that they are programmed to conform to the ideals of the world state. Conditioning is an important theme, and the takeaway message here is that we need to be more conscious of what we desire. Think for a moment about what you most want in life. Is it something you genuinely want, or has this desire been planted in your mind by other people? The book also brings an important message about drugs. Any sense of tension, discomfort, confrontation causes the characters to go and take their somas. The soma medication serves to block the emotions resulting from stressful situations such as pain, sadness, and anger. This drug allows society to have better control over their citizens, as soma helps to extract any sense of individuality. Without soma, people would start to have a better notion of who they truly are, experiencing all kinds of emotion, whether good or bad. Stability would be harder to achieve. And furthermore, the work also highlights the dangers of using advanced technology for controlling and pleasuring society. For instance, babies are subjected to electric shocks when they're coming near books or flowers, as they have been selected to be workers of lower castes. So associating books and flowers with pain and loud noises means they will be spending their time working without complaining rather than reading or fostering revolutionary ideals, or even appreciating beauty. Brave New World is a warning about the dangers of blindly following and being conditioned by society's ideals of consumerism and pleasure. The most interesting aspect, however, is that people seem to be happy all the time, as everything is designed to give people what they desire. Obviously, what they desire has been carefully designed, manipulated, and there are many similarities that we can draw from this book to our own lives. With mass manipulation, there is a need for mass consumption. We must constantly consume in order to keep the economy running. Brave New World shows an industrialized society where consumption is what matters most, and individuals are conditioned to always want new things. This serves as a warning about the dangers of allowing economic systems to dictate our desires, our actions. It is like we are all pawns in a game, being manipulated to want more and more. But it wasn't always like this. Before mass production, we didn't have the same consumerist mindset in our real world. With the rise of mass production, things started to change. We started to change. That's why there are so many references to Ford, including the year of the calendar. It is based on Ford's birth. Because the revolution of mass production became very clear when Henry Ford was a powerful businessman at the time that the book was written, and it was really changing society. These forces of persuasion and influence are present in our daily life right now, in our real world. Ads and movies and music and social media, they all play a role in shaping our desires. Notice how often you click on a video thinking it's about, I don't know, some comedy sketch, but deep down it's an ad. There are many types of product placements everywhere. Actors are over there drinking or eating something from a particular brand. This summary itself is a kind of advertisement, as Arata Academy sells online trainings. So what I do is to always make it very clear that the training exists. I leave the link available optionally for people who wish to delve deeper and do practical activities with me. In the case of this summary of Brave New World, the risks of consumerism, my invitation is that you go and visit arata.se/trulywealthy, which is our training that goes to the psychological root of our desire to consume and what we can do to achieve true wealth. Always remember, your life is not deterministic. There is no inevitable future, a destiny you have to fulfill. You can make better choices and not be taken by the forces of domination and consumption. And unlike what we see in the book Brave New World, in real life, it is not only the government that is doing all types of social conditioning, it is the private sector as well. In fact, mass consumption nowadays comes mostly from the private sector. Big corporations, billionaire individuals, they are all using their influence to shape our desires and keep us consuming. They are the ones who are funding different types of messages and media that makes us feel the desire to achieve more status and to consume more. So next time you're watching a series or you find some artist making it big, try to figure out who's actually behind that, what is the message, who's funding that. Under these economic models of consumption, people end up serving the economy instead of the economy serving people. Society is all built around consumption. The normal situation would be that human beings would be consuming mass-produced products. But what the book is showing here is mass-produced human beings that are created in order to consume and keep the economy running. Now think a little bit. What are the dangers of allowing economic systems to dictate our desires and our actions? Imagine you bought everything you ever wanted in life. Is that really bringing you meaning? How can we find a balance between economic progress and the preservation of our values as human beings? So here is a practical exercise for you. Take a look at that social network where people are always using it to share photos, pictures of their lifestyles, the food they eat, how they have a perfect body, how they have better cars and better clothes than you. What feelings do you have when you're looking at all those images? Can you see that this is constantly pushing the message that they are superior and you are inferior, and therefore you need to make extra efforts to be a little bit more like them, and therefore be able to achieve status in our society? Beware of the risk of being manipulated by consumerism and vanity, losing sight of the things that really matter in life. We can be conscious of our consumption and make better choices. It is important to question what we really want and not just follow what society is imposing on us. Drugs are used to avoid problems and unwanted feelings. Personal development requires confronting the problems. More and more people are turning to alcohol and other legal and illegal drugs as a way to escape problems from their everyday lives and avoid dealing with difficult emotions. In Brave New World, citizens are doing exactly that, constantly taking pills called soma, which is this drug to suppress emotions. Similarly, nowadays many people use substances such as alcohol and recreational drugs to relieve emotional pain and avoid dealing with their own feelings. This is a childish way of living life. Being a fully grown adult means being able to deal with life as it is. Maturing means learning to live every emotion, positive and negative, without needing drugs. But using drugs to cope with our emotions is not only harmful, it is also unsustainable. Eventually, we will become dependent on these substances and we'll lose our ability to feel and think authentically. We get stuck in a cycle of dependency, we lose control over our own lives. And it is not just our personal lives that are affected. The alcohol industry, illegal drug gangs, and also the illegal ones, the pharmaceutical industry, the big pharma, with their legalized drugs, they're constantly influencing our culture. They're using celebrities to promote the idea that using drugs is okay. It is acceptable. But the reality is that these substances cause harm and lead to addiction and dependency. So next time you think of using any kind of drug, don't be deceived by those who are pushing the narrative that this is normal, that everybody does it, that cool people do it, that artists, they're all doing it. Think about who's behind that. Who are you financially supporting when you buy drugs? Do you think it is morally right to be a financial backer of these groups? Do these people, they act in accordance with your values, in line with your interests? And just as a quick aside, this type of questioning applies to everything, not just whenever people are buying drugs. You can also ask yourself about who's benefiting anytime you buy any type of product, any service, including paying your taxes. So now let's get back to the issue of using drugs to numb ourselves emotionally. Real personal growth is finding ways to cope with our emotions in a healthy and a sustainable manner. It is facing our problems heads on and working to improve ourselves and the world around us. It is being strong enough to face our difficult emotions and not running away from them. Of course, it is not easy to face our feelings, but it is necessary for our overall well-being. Instead of numbing ourselves with all types of drugs and alcohol, we should focus on making positive changes in our lives and in our environment, which in the end will lead us to have a happier and more fulfilling existence. The greater the promiscuity, the less the love and family cohesion. Thus, people become more vulnerable. In the dystopian scenario of Brave New World, not only is sex and promiscuity encouraged, it is required. It is essentially a society without love. Both romantic love and familial love are seen with disgust by society. Family has been abolished. It is shameful to be recognized as the father of one's own child. And this serves the purpose of control and domination, eliminating feelings of love in a couple and destroying the structure of family ties. Normalizing promiscuity not only subverts traditional values and importance of relationships and family, but it also contributes to the degradation of society. It promotes a culture of disposable relationships and devalues the importance of emotional connection with intimacy. It also perpetuates a toxic and harmful view of fragmentation among people with the most variable bubbles of misogyny, radical feminism, incels, MGTOW, genocentrism, androcentrism, and many more. At the bottom, all of this represents the fragmentation of society. Each group seeks to spread its ideology, so it is very important that you know your values and who you are. What is your identity? Otherwise, there is a great risk that you will be taken by somebody else's ideology, and you start to derive your identity from that ideology. It is important that you are aware of the many ways in which society is trying to impose these values on you and question whether these values are aligned or not with your own values, your own beliefs. Notice how many of these themes here are pretty similar to the episode number 34 of our Arata Academy Summary series about the book 1984, but there are some very interesting differences. In 1984, books are forbidden by the totalitarian government. However, in Brave New World, it is not necessary to prohibit books. It is just enough to condition people so they no longer have an interest in books. And here is a question for you to reflect. For every 10 minutes that you spend on social networks, watching those quick videos, TikTok or short videos, funny videos, for 10 minutes, how many minutes do you actually spend reading high-quality books? All the warnings of Brave New World help us to remember the importance of having independence and integrity in our own lives, instead of yielding to the external pressures that are seeking to shape us through conformity, convenience, superficial pleasure, and instant gratification, to the detriment of building real, meaningful connections. We all have the power to create a world of true happiness and fulfillment, but it is important to be aware of the values and the ideals that we choose to prioritize. True wealth lies in finding our purpose and giving ourselves the mission to live that purpose every single day, not in giving ourselves over to consumerism and pleasure. Now I want to invite you to have the courage, the fortitude, to not fall into the trap of this conditioning of society. We can have a better life with true human connections and fulfillment. And for that you have to start with a clear vision of who you are. What is your purpose? This is the necessary foundation to build true wealth. And we can continue this conversation in arata.se/truly wealthy.